Good evening. Hope everyone is having a great Sunday and had a great weekend. I'm just gonna want to pop in and do a quick episode about a topic that I think is kind of interesting. This is what happens when an anxious attacher is self-aware and regulated. So it says, before they react strongly to situations without understanding triggers. And after the awareness of triggers, the anxious partner starts recognizing triggers by being conscious of what situations or thoughts tend to provoke their anxiety. They also can communicate those to their partner, which I think this awareness probably, I would say, comes with either like a diagnosis or therapy or some type of self-reflection and self-work to even know that you have anxiety and what makes you anxious in a relationship, and then what your triggers are. So it takes time. Another example, before they're easily overwhelmed and struggling to regulate their emotions. After they have emotional regulation, so they learn to acknowledge feelings without becoming overwhelmed by them. They develop skills to regulate emotions, enabling calm and effective responses to challenges that crop in the relationship. So again, just like emotional regulation, I feel like that takes time. It takes maturity. That takes exposure and therapy and just learning like how to cope with your emotions and what they mean too. And how to, like it says, to acknowledge them too, to understand like what you're feeling. It takes work. So before associating boundaries with rejection, after changing the narrative about boundaries, they learn to set and maintain healthy boundaries in their relationships, recognizes the need to have a full cup to pour from, and practices being assertive about their needs. This is a big one, I feel like, in relationships, knowing that a boundary doesn't mean rejection, and also learning healthy boundaries to maintain and set for yourself within relationships of all kinds. And then also I like the part about having a full cup to pour from. I think that the anxiety tends to come from not having a full cup, and you're anxious because you're waiting for this person to keep filling your cup when they have their own cup to fill. So learning how to flip that and understand practices that help you feel more full. And I feel like that, like it says, kind of being assertive about your needs, like knowing what your needs are, knowing how to fulfill your own needs, and then also how to express that to the person that you're in a relationship with, and really like teaching them how it is that you are able to recognize them fulfilling that. I think that's important too. And another one, before anxious about anxiety, after changing their self-talk from critical to compassionate. Instead of berating themselves for feeling anxious, they start offering themselves kindness and understanding, recognizing that everyone struggles at times. That's a big one too. Giving yourself grace. Typically, when you have anxiety, it can make you anxious about having anxiety, because then you're aware, self-aware in the sense of that you have this condition, but it's easy to kind of fall into that trap of giving yourself a hard time for being anxious about things. But the more self-awareness and learning how to practice regulation can calm your mind, calm your body, and calm your anxiety, so that you don't have to feel bad about it. And also just giving yourself grace. Like, everybody has their times where, they just feel anxious, or they feel different moods and feelings that impact how they operate in life. It doesn't define you. It's just a part of who you are. The next one, before operating from a sense of urgency and impulse. After practicing the pause mindfully. They incorporate the practice of pausing, which allows them to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, which in turn leads to a healthier communication and clarity. This is a big one that I had to practice and learn, because A lot of times I would operate from a sense of urgency. And typically that just made me more anxious. And so in my communication, it wasn't great because of the high anxiety of feeling like, you just had to like get it done then. And not just in relationships, but like in general and in life, like certain things. And learning how to find that balance and understand that things happen when they're supposed to, and to give yourself time and to understand and have clarity too before you speak, and clarity before you communicate. I think that with clarity, you can have a healthier communication and conversation versus like if you're not clear mentally, then you probably will have the urge to say things that maybe you don't mean, or not really even understand what it is that you're trying to say. And it can make it harder for you to have to express yourself, which again would heighten and increase your anxiety because you're already feeling these things. You don't know how to express yourself, but you feel like you have to hurry up and do it then, and it's not coming out clear. So both parties are not really getting what they need out of the conversation. And it says before, shame and confusion around needs and wants. After, acceptance of their needs in the relationship. Once they are able to accept their needs without any shame of guilt, they are able to assert their boundaries, practice self-love, and be assertive in communication without second guessing and resentment. This is a big one too. I think that sometimes people become anxious in relationships because of past experiences or relationships where they have maybe expressed some needs and or wants, and that partner responded in a shameful way to make them feel guilty for how they feel or what it is that they need in a relationship, which can impact that person's boundaries, their self-love, their self-view of themselves, and their communication style, and their love style in general. Because you kind of suppress your feelings or what it is that you feel that you want and need, because that partner is not able to understand or give it to you, or they make you feel, or they respond in a way that you can become, resentful, or you feel like what you're asking for is too much, or it's not something that you can attain, when in actuality it's just like a way for you to recognize that this is not the person for you versus what you need. It's still valid. So before jumping to conclusion and catastrophizing, after flexible thinking, they start to consciously challenge negative thought patterns and practice cognitive flexibility by actively questioning catastrophic thinking and looking for alternative perspectives that creates balance. So not jumping to conclusions and creating big catastrophes in your mind, but instead taking your time to step back and think about the current situation with the challenges, how it can be solved, and like just the different ways of how to look at it and create balance, not only within the situation and the relationship but also within yourself, your emotions, regulating and helping you to, again, lower your anxiety. And the last one, it says, your attachment style doesn't define you. No matter who you were yesterday, your intentional effort today can change what your tomorrow will look like. So again, just kind of like what I was saying in the beginning, like your attachment style doesn't have to define who you are. If you are an anxious person, or you have anxiety, or you have anxious attachment, like, all right, that's just a way that you can recognize some things that maybe you need to work on. And with that realization, you can practice different ways to figure out a way that that really works for you personally to deal with your anxiety, and how you handle it within relationships, how you handle it with yourself on a day-to-day basis, and even just being able to recognize what type of things make you anxious too, right? I feel like if you know that, that's a big part of it too. Recognizing your triggers, recognizing how anxiety shows up within you. Also how it shows up in your relationships and your communication skills and style, and the way that you interpret things. If you have a tendency to misinterpret things, or maybe kind of like what it was saying in one of them, like catastrophize things, or you just kind of like blow things up really quickly without really fully listening or understanding or even digesting what the person said or what's going on, what the situation is. So learning how to like step back and take a break, really look at the whole picture, figure out what's the best solution for you and the relationship. I think that's a really big one too. But yeah, I think, everyone doesn't have anxiety, but people definitely we all go through some type of situation that makes you anxious, or you have those anxious feelings. Again, not just in relationships, but just could be in general in life, certain situations. Because life is just like, has its ups and downs, and it has situations that can definitely make you feel that type of way. But the good thing is like knowing that it doesn't have to be a permanent feeling, and it doesn't have to be something that you permanently deal with. And it also is something that can be dealt with, and it, you don't have to be ashamed of it. You don't have to feel like you're the only one, because a lot of people go through that and deal with it. And everybody deals with it in different ways too. There's not just one solution or one way to deal with it. You just, again, have to figure out what works for you. And then kind of go from there. And it could be a trial and error, and a lot of different practicing different ways, and just figuring out which way calms your nerves, and which way helps you to fill your cup, which way helps you to feel more confident in what it is that you're feeling and what you're doing and how you express yourself. Feeling more confident about setting boundaries and sticking to those boundaries, and being able to express those boundaries. Also being able to stay like, when it comes to the boundaries, like having boundaries for yourself too, and knowing how, like, you can say you have boundaries all day, but if you're not going to act on them, then that's another thing that you have to work on and could potentially make you anxious too. So, and obviously these are things that like take time and take experiences for you to discover about yourself. So again, like it was saying, like, give yourself grace, knowing when to take a step back and to just kind of let yourself be. So hopefully this was helpful. I feel like that's really kind of all I had to say about that. I think there is definitely some like free online quizzes that you could take to figure out your attachment style within relationships. I know there's like anxious, avoidant, and then there's like some other ones too. And I feel like I know for me, like certain people, certain relationships bring out certain attachment styles too. But I also think that attachment styles are connected to traumas too, past trauma. So even though a certain relationship might make you feel anxious or avoidant, but it also can highlight to you, like, what about this relationship and the situation is making me feel that way? What is it bringing up? What is it triggering in me that I need to reflect on and heal too? So even though it can be viewed as a negative, it also has its positives too. If you are able to look at it that way and to reflect upon it that way and act upon it that way. If you're able to understand that, all right, something about this relationship or this connection makes me anxious. Why am I, what at certain points, what things are making me anxious? Is it when this person is yelling at me, when this person is ignoring me, like things like that? And then you can kind of reflect on, all right, when have I felt like this before? Has it been in other relationships, or has it been in my past as a child? And then being able to understand why it's triggering you, what the trigger means, and then also how to heal the trigger, and then also how to move forward, and give yourself grace when it happens again, if it does happen again, and then how you want to handle it differently. Or you might have to handle it again the same way until you just kind of get it. So again, like what it's saying, like giving yourself grace within the process is very important too, because we're human. You're not always just going to get it right the first time. And it takes practice takes trial and error. It's just the important thing is like if you are learning how to set boundaries and how to do things differently in a more positive light to help you get more positive results for yourself and to create a healthy relationship with yourself and with others. So if you are someone who deals with anxiety or you have anxious attachment style, like, you're not the only person, and there are ways to deal with it in a healthy manner. There's various different avenues to do so as well. So explore what works for you, whether that be medication, it could be natural herb medication, or it could be doctor prescribed medication. It can be a combination of that and therapy, maybe certain hobbies or things like activities that help bring you peace of mind and to decrease your anxiety. So it's really just about figuring out what works for you, and knowing that, like, it's not something that's just going to go away right away. Like, you have to give yourself, like I said, grace, give yourself time, and learn how to, like, incorporate it into your life rather than allowing it to take over your life too. So hopefully that was helpful. As always, I'm your host, Chanel. This is Black Hippie Lounge. If you haven't already, please follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Black Hippie Lounge, and subscribe to the podcast, share it on your social media, share with other people who you feel like might like the podcast too. If you are interested in being a guest, please reach out to me on social media or by email. Is blackhippilounge@gmail.com. And as always, meditate, manifest, invest in you, and take care. Meditate, manifest, invest in you. Join me on my spiritual journey as I elevate myself and like-minded listeners to a higher level, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for listening. This is Black Hippie Lounge, and I am your host, Chanel.